They didn't forget her. They erased her. If you believe some stories deserve to be told, subscribe. New episodes every week. The forgotten do not stay silent here. I was 12 the day she vanished. 12, sticky with summer, sitting on the porch steps while my mother talked about her new job. She was glowing. Promotion on the horizon. Big smile, big plans. We drank lemonade that tasted like sugar and dust, but her eyes kept drifting down the street, to the rusted mailbox at the corner, the one that leaned, cracked, wrapped in ivy, the one people ignored. "That's where I'm leaving it," she said. Casual voice, careful tone. "Just for a few weeks." I laughed because I thought she meant a letter, a bill, a note for the mailman. I didn't know she meant me. She squeezed my hand. Her nails were painted the color of cherries. "You'll understand when you're older," she whispered. I did not understand anything. Not yet. She stood. She smoothed her dress. Her heels clicked down the path like a countdown. I stared at the ivy. It seemed to breathe. It seemed to wait. It seemed to swallow her as she turned the corner and vanished. I told myself she would be back by dinner. She was not. The police called 3 days later. A number I did not recognize lit up the cracked screen. A voice that didn't know me said a body had been found. A basement, a fall down the stairs. Preserved appearance. Something about chemicals from a leaking freezer. An accident, they said. I stared at the wall and tried to stop shaking. Accident. Basement. That word echoed. They showed me a photo. My mother's face. Frozen smile. Eyes wide. There was a sheen to her skin. Not living. Not gone. Caught between. They told me it was over. Next of kin paperwork. A signature here. A copy there. I was 12. I signed where fingers pointed. I wanted it to be a dream I could wake from. It wasn't. At the funeral, people I barely knew told me she was an angel. People who never enjoyed her cooking praised her recipes. People who never loved her raised glasses in her honor. I watched lips move and thought about the mailbox. I thought about ivy and rust and secrets. I watched the door, waiting for heels on tile. Silence. Accidents take the blame when truth is dangerous. I didn't know that yet. I learned it the hard way. Grief comes in waves. Mine came with questions. It started simple. Why that basement? Why no witnesses? Why no calls on her phone in the hours before? Why did the grocery store camera freeze for 11 minutes the night before? Why did her boss send flowers but never ask how she died? Why did the neighbors hear music in our house the night after the funeral? I was 12, but I was not stupid. I made a list. I filled a notebook. I went digging. The alibi she told neighbors on her last day? Finn. She said she was going to the dentist. There were no appointments under her name. She said she was headed to the office after. She never clocked in. She told a friend she was going to drop a package at the post office. No package ever arrived. Her phone? Clean. Too clean. No calls, no texts, no location pings for 6 hours before she fell. No saved numbers except mine and a dentist she didn't see. The call log was dust. The browser history was wiped. Our basement? Sealed. A door I'd never noticed. A lock I'd never seen. A smell I could not place. Mothballs, damp concrete, a trace of bleach. When I ran my hand along the frame, I found a hairline crack where new paint met old wood. I pushed. It didn't budge. I pulled the rug back and found tiny scratches on the floor. Marks of furniture dragged. Marks of chairs moved. Marks of a hidden door opened often, and recently. I searched the rest of the house. I climbed into the attic and crawled past insulation that stuck to my skin. In a corner, I found a cardboard box. Brown. Labeled in marker, Louie's Secrets. Lily, my mother. I sat under the single attic bulb and opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens. Some for me, some for a stranger, all in her neat handwriting. The ones to me were sweet, gentle. Every day she had written. Notes she never mailed. I saw a bluebird and thought of your laugh. I made your favorite soup. I've been saving for your birthday. I am so proud of you. Something in me caved when I read those. I cried until I hiccuped. Her love was in every loop of ink. It felt real. It felt like a rope out of the dark. The other letters were not sweet. They were to a lawyer, to a man with a short last name and a reputation I had to Google. to a man who promised her a better life. He had an address in a nicer neighborhood, a ring on his finger, and a list of clients with polished shoes. There were also notes to another man, Carl, the one who used to babysit me when I was little, the one who fixed our sink, the one who always had a story about glory days and a smile that didn't touch his eyes. In those letters, her voice changed. It was sharper, want burned through the lines. "You make me feel seen," she wrote. "You said we'd leave. You promised." I found a diary under the stack, worn, locked with a tiny brass clasp. I wanted to know, I needed to. I searched the house for the key, every drawer, every jar, every coat pocket. I had almost given up when I saw the doormat outside. It sat too flat, too perfect. I lifted the corner. There it was, a key, not tiny, heavy, cold metal against my palm. My heart slammed. I took it to the basement door. My fingers shook. The key slid into the lock like it belonged. I turned it. The click sounded final. I pushed the door open. The hinge whined. The smell hit me. Cold, chemical, cloth left in a washing machine for too long. The room was small. A single bulb hung from the ceiling. A cot sat against the far wall. A clock ticked, loud, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. And there, in the shadows, was my mother. Not a photo. Not a memory, real, alive, barely. Her wrists were bound to a metal pipe. Her hair was tangled. Her lips were blue. Her skin looked like paper held too close to a fire. Our eyes met. For a second, everything stopped. The clock, my breath, my fear. She smiled. It was tiny. It broke me. "It's not what you think," she whispered. I ran to her. My hands fumbled with knots I didn't understand. I used the key on the handcuffs I didn't want to look at. I didn't ask why there were handcuffs in our house. I didn't ask why the police said she was dead. I focused on the rope. I focused on the cold metal and the bruises hidden under the sleeves. I held her hand. It was warm in patches and ice elsewhere. The warmth slipped away like sand. She blinked. Her breath came shallow. "Don't hate me," she said. "I did what I had to do." I called for help. I screamed into the phone. I gave our address in a voice that didn't sound like mine. I told them to hurry, to run, to fly. Paramedics shoved past me and moved like a trained dance. Tape, oxygen, a stretcher, hands that knew, hands that did not ask questions yet. They took her to the hospital. Machines hummed, lines dripped, nurses frowned, doctors spoke in quiet tones. The word stabilizing floated in the air like a prayer. I sat in a plastic chair and watched the door. I held the diary and the letters like a shield. I waited for her to wake up. I waited for answers. When she opened her eyes, she watched me first. Not the tubes, not the lights. Me. I told her I loved her. I told her I found the box. I told her the police said she was dead. She laughed. It sounded like cracking glass. "They always did love a convenient story," she said. I asked who had done this to her. She closed her eyes. "It's complicated." Complicated is a word people use when they don't want to say guilty yet. I pressed. She cracked. Secrets spilled. She told me the plan. It had started years earlier. Before the porch, before the mailbox, before the new job and the promotion. She had been falling apart quietly. She hated the version of herself that made casseroles and clipped coupons and scraped by. She wanted new. She wanted clean. She wanted to breathe without hearing the word mom turn into a chain. She met Carl at the hardware store. He said nice things. He remembered birthdays when others forgot. He called her bold. He called her brilliant. He told her he could help her leave. He told her he could make her new. She sold the house to him under a paper shell company with her lawyer's advice. He said it was a smart way to avoid taxes. He said it was legal. He said everything would be fine. It felt like standing on thin ice and calling it a bridge. The plan was simple on paper. Stage a disappearance. Leave me with a temporary guardian while she set up a new life. The guardian was Carl's cousin with a rental 3 towns over. She would send for me when the foundation was laid. When the risk was low. When the money was clean. Then the plan twisted. Carl decided he wanted more. Not just to help, to own. Control dressed up as love. He stopped talking about moving. He started talking about possession. He told her to cut ties, all of them. He told her to sign a new set of papers. He told her to hand over the phone. He told her to hand over me. When she tried to back out, he locked the basement door. He told her it was temporary. He said, "I'll keep you safe while this blows over." He knotted rope like he had done it before. He kept the key under the mat, like a dare. She told me she wrote to me every night to stay sane, down in the cold, under that light bulb. She scribbled notes and pressed them into the box I found. She promised herself it would end. She promised me it was not abandonment. It was survival. The body the police found, not her. It was a Jane Doe, tagged wrong. Identified by a photo the lawyer helped confirm. A convenient accident. A closure provided. Paperwork sealed. Case closed. Grease packaged and delivered. Evidence erased. I felt sick. The truth had a metallic taste. I had signed the papers. I had let the lie stamp itself into the record because I was a child who trusted uniforms. Anger rose in me like floodwater. It was not neat. It did not ask for permission. I wanted to expose her. I wanted to rip Carl's life apart. I wanted to pull every nail out of the house he bought and spell his name on the lawn with them. When my mother slept, I opened her diary. The key fit with a soft snap. The first page was a confession. "I can't keep living with the guilt," she wrote. "She'll always be the one who stayed. I'll be the one who left. Me, the one who stayed." Entry after entry mapped out a mind caught in a trap of its own design. Plans, regrets, names, times. I photographed every page. I backed them up to 3 different drives. I did not trust the cloud. I did not trust anyone. I went to see Carl. I did not tell him I was coming. I walked through a gate with a camera, staring down at me. His neighbor's hedges were too neat. His lawn was a catalog. He opened the door with a smile that didn't touch anything. "Look at you," he said, "all grown up." I asked him about the night at the grocery store. He stared at a point over my shoulder. "She was confused," he said. "She was scared. She didn't know what she wanted. She was always like that." Lies roll off some tongues like prayers. I asked him if he had a key to our basement. He stepped back. He told me to leave. He told me he would call the police. I told him I would call the press. His face twitched. He moved aside. I stepped into a house that tried to look honest and failed. Trophies lined a shelf. Plaques glowed. His past gleamed from the walls like armor. We sat in the kitchen. He poured coffee. He watched me hold my cup and not drink. I watched his wrists. There were faint marks where a watch usually sat. He had taken it off for me. That detail stuck. He talked fast. He told me he loved my mother. He told me she wanted more. He told me she chose everything. He told me he was only trying to help. He blamed her with softness. He wrapped the knife in silk. I told him about the diary. I told him about the letters. I told him I had photos and that I would not stop. He cracked. He confessed to enough to trap himself. He admitted the lock. He admitted the money. He admitted the plan to disappear me for a while. He said it like a favor. He said it like I should say thank you. I recorded every word. Back at the hospital, I found a folder on my mother's phone, buried under layers of boring names, labeled proof. It held videos. She had filmed herself in the basement, night after night. She spoke into the lens like it was me. "You'll grow up and see the truth," she said in one clip, voice steady. "You'll know it's not just about me, it's about you." In another, her voice shook. "I want you to hate me less when you see this. I want you to know I believed I could come back for you without dragging you into the mess. I thought erasing myself would keep you clean." She looked so small under that light bulb. She looked like a child pretending to be an adult. It broke me in new places. I took everything to the police. New ones, different precinct. I did not ask politely. I refused to be the girl who signed what she was told to sign. The case exploded. The old accident ruling shattered. The Jane Doe's file reopened. The hospital logs were subpoenaed. The freezer chemicals were tested. The videos were analyzed. The lock was bagged. Carl was arrested first. He wore a jacket like the weather deserved. Cameras flashed. He looked down. He finally looked like the man he was. My mother was charged next, not as a victim alone, as an architect too. Conspiracy, fraud, child endangerment, false reporting through a proxy, crimes with long names and longer explanations. The city wanted a simple frame. The story refused to be simple. The trial was a spectacle. People love scandal. They love mothers who break the mold. They love villains they can point to and say, "I would never." The courtroom was cold. The microphones were too hot. The judge had a calm face that hid nothing. My mother's lawyer tried to spin it. She was desperate. She was manipulated. She was trapped. She was a survivor. All true. And also she planned a part of it. She wrote the blueprint. She handed the tools to a man who would use them on her. The evidence lined up like a parade. The basement photos, the letters, the diary, the videos, the key under the mat, the deed transfer stamped with dates that told on themselves, the bank statements that arced into a map of greed. When they played the basement video in court, my mother saw my face on the screen, within the screen, eyes red, jaw set. Something inside her broke. She cried without sound. She wiped her eyes with the back of a shaking hand. On the stand, she whispered, "I just wanted to be free. I thought I was doing what was right. But it wasn't right. It was a betrayal so deep it carved a canyon in me. It was love twisted into control. It was a choice that used me as a shield." The verdict was long. The sentences were longer. The judge spoke in measured words. Restitution, time, counseling, conditions, names of statutes that sounded like metal. A line that stuck to my ribs was simple. "She's gone," the judge said when it was over, meaning the person she had been. But her story lives. After the trial, I walked down to the mailbox. The ivy was taller. The rust was deeper. Ants had made a path up the post. The metal door creaked when I touched it. I thought about the day she left me there. I thought about the click of her heels and the way the sun made her hair a halo. I thought about the letters in the attic and the diary under my arm, and the videos burned into my brain. Every piece was a shard. Together, they made a mirror. The story was not over. Truth rarely ends clean. Weeks later, I went back to her old room to pack what was left. I wanted one thing, a photograph, a sweater, a trace of innocence. The closet had a false back. I found it by accident. A nail snagged my sleeve and pulled a board an inch out. I pushed. The panel swung. A hidden space waited. Small, dusty, careful. Inside were stacked journals, thicker than the diary. A framed photo of Carl from a decade ago. He was younger, cockier, sunlit. Tucked behind the frame was a note. "For you, my love," it read. Ink even, unmistakable. My mother's hand. It hit me like a tide. She had loved him, real, deep, wrong. And she had loved me, real, deep, right. Which is why she had convinced herself the plan could split the difference. In her heart, I was the one who stayed. I was the anchor. He was the storm. She tried to sail and keep the shore. Nobody gets to do both. Time passed. Quietly. No cameras. No swarming headlines. No lawyers. I stopped asking strangers for answers. I stopped searching county databases in the middle of the night. I stopped writing lists on scraps of paper and taping them to the wall. I built a life far from that town. New streets, new mailbox, no ivy. And yet, every time I pass a mailbox, I feel the old weight. I see rust that isn't there. I hear a clock that stopped years ago. I smell mothballs and fear and the bitter sting of bleach. I remember the cold basement. I remember the cot. I remember the way her wrists looked when I undid the last knot. I remember the way she whispered, "It's not what you think," and how much truth lived in that. Because nothing was what I thought. Not then, not later. Sometimes I dream about her. In the dreams, she's not in the mailbox. She is everywhere else, in the attic with a pen that won't run out, in the basement with a bulb that flickers, in the hallway with a suitcase that never gets lighter. In my dreams, she leans close. Her breath is warm. "You were right," she says. "I did it for you." I wake up and wonder if that's true, or if that's the story I tell myself to make the sharp edges dull. The truth is a knife. It cuts deep. It cleans wounds. It draws blood. It can also carve a path out. It does not always care who it hurts. Here is the part I never leave out. Most erasures do not happen once. They happen slowly. A fact rubbed away. A call not returned, a name not said. A mother becomes a ghost, one compromise at a time. And then, one day, the people around you repeat the lie so often, they forget there was a person before the paperwork. They didn't forget her, they erased her, and she helped them hold the eraser. So what do you do with a story like that? You tell it. You hold it up to the light, and you refuse to let it disappear again. If you're still here, I'm asking you something. What would you do if your mother tried to wipe you out of her life and call it mercy? Would you forgive? Would you burn it all down? Would you hold both truths and learn to live with the weight? Some stories aren't just about facts. They're about the cost of a choice, the silence of a betrayal, the echo of a love that turned into a cage. If this gave you chills, hit like. Subscribe for more forgotten files uncovered. The erased deserve witnesses. And I'm not done. Next week, I'm opening another box, another name, another basement, another door with a key under the mat. Come back for it. Because when people say the past is dead, I remember a woman breathing under a single bulb, whispering into a camera, leaving a breadcrumb trail for a daughter who refused to look away. Some things should not be erased. Not again, not now, not ever. Subscribe, stay with me. We have work to do.